Hey everybody, Cinema Sickness here with your daily sickness video, and as always, hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day. And it is that time of the week, yet again, time to take a look at the titles I've recently checked out. And to not make this video 3 hours long, we're going to just dive right into it as always. So, first time I checked out, because it was May the 4th, was Star Wars. And of course, I watched it on good old capacitance electronic disc, because if you're going to watch Star Wars, why not watch it on CED? I love this film. It's great. I'm going to say probably my favorite out of the original trilogy. I mean, I know Empire is really good, but I think I'm going to say I like New Hope the best, simply because it feels like its own movie. When they made this movie, they weren't expecting it to take off and for there to be more movies. George Lucas, supposedly, I'm assuming, he said he did, had the trilogy. Well, according to him, he had apparently he had 9 movies planned out in his head. I don't know, but they weren't necessarily thinking this was going to take off. So when they shot this movie, they shot it like its own movie. They never really shot it like expecting them to do 2 more movies afterwards. And you can kind of tell that. I feel when I'm watching episode 5, I kind of feel like you can sort of tell that they had to kind of make things sort of work to fit into the first movie to make it seem like make it seem like a sequel. And it kind of always sort of bugged me. So I think when it came down to it, I just really enjoyed Star Wars. I mean, New Hope, I just think is a great film and big fan. And I really wanted to just rewatch it again because I've seen the prequels too many times. I love the prequels. I'm not those people who do not like the prequels. I actually enjoy them. As I've said before, I was in high school and middle school when the prequels came out. And I remember when they came out. I remember them very fondly because I was working in a toy store. I was working at FAO Shores when they came out. So it was big news, the toys, the movies, all that stuff, merchandise at the wazoo. It was all over the place. So I remember that very, very fondly. And I remember there were 2 sets of people when the prequels came out. There were people who liked it, and there were people who didn't like it. And both sides were legitimate. People who liked it legitimately liked it. People who didn't like them legitimately didn't like the prequels. And that was cool. I was always okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the new trendy I hate the prequels bandwagon, which is people who aren't really making up their mind based on the fact that they legitimately don't like the movies. They're making up their mind based on the fact that it's cool and trendy not to like the movies. That I'm not okay with. If you legitimately do not like a movie, awesome. More power to you. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, and cool. I'm not going to argue with you. When you're not liking a movie because it's trendy not to like the movie, then you're an idiot. And I can't get behind you. Sorry. So that drives me nuts, like the new I hate the prequels bandwagon. But I like them. I've just seen them too many times because I was working at a toy store where they used to play them like constantly on the TV. So Phantom Menace Episode 1, I could probably word for word go through the entire movie. I've seen it that many times. It's ridiculous how many times I've seen it, but I like it, so I'm not complaining. Episode 2 I've seen a lot too because that came out. Episode 3, I don't think I was working at the toy store anymore when that came out. So I've seen that probably the same amount of times as I've seen the original trilogy. So I just need to give the prequels a break and just maybe not watch those for like a bunch of years and really just keep constantly focusing on the original trilogy, because I've seen these movies like dozens and dozens of times, but I really need to see them dozens and dozens and dozens more to make sure I get myself caught up with seeing these as many times as I've seen the prequels, or at least seeing these as many times I feel like it's the same amount, because I don't know if I'll ever catch up since I've seen The Phantom Menace so many times. It's ridiculous. I was actually thinking about watching episode 7, but because I really want to rewatch it again, because I loved it, I thought it was great, really need to sit down and rewatch again, but I don't know, just decided to go with a classic. I love me some Star Wars, and I'm not going to go into the movie, because if you haven't seen Star Wars, please crawl out from under your rock and watch one of the greatest movies ever from one of the greatest franchises ever. It's a brilliant film. I don't think I need to go into that because I'm sure we've all seen Star Wars. But again, if you haven't, why not see it? It's fantastic. So I'm not going to really talk about that one. All right, next up I watched Mail to the Chief. Some wonderful World of Disney right here. Made for TV movie, and my God, does it ever look like it. One of the worst DVD transfers I've ever seen. Very pixelated. Every dark black was either green or red. It looked horrible. It almost looked like I was watching like a really bad like internet video, just with like horrible colors and pixelation and just I mean frame rate was okay, but besides that it was just horrible picture quality. I was really blown away by just how bad it actually looked. I was having a hard time believing what I was seeing. It was that bad. But interesting movie with Randy Quaid. Plays the president of the United States of America, and he's kind of out of touch. People are, he's up for re-election, but he's out of touch, and he does these every time he does a speech and stuff like that, he always says these big words and blah blah blah, and he just basically talks, like a BS president would talk, and he's not really talking to the people, and he's not really answering questions and blah 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 blah. So he goes onto a chat room, and it turns out that our young little star here, he also goes on to a chat room, and they start talking to one another, not realizing, who they are. Well, the president doesn't realize this. He's talking to a young kid, and of course the kid doesn't realize he's talking to the president of the United States of America. So the kid starts saying like all these things, and basically he starts telling them like the problems he sees with the way the president talks and things he says, and he starts saying some like he starts saying some things like giving some like using metaphors and stuff like that, but like metaphors that like the common person could like relate to. And the president in his next speech ends up kind of getting caught in the saying all his typical BS and kind of getting caught in it, and somebody says something to him, so he rattles off something the kid said, and the crowd goes wild, and it's like, yes, that's that, like, we love what you just said. And then the president's like, well, I need to get this kid on board as an advisor, so it brings this kid on board as an advisor, and the kid starts telling him what to say, and it ends up being this whole his whole like political campaign is basically like what this kid is telling him to do. And of course at the end of the movie there's this whole big thing where they don't want it to get out that his advisor was a kid in high school, because that could be embarrassing. So they basically just like tell the president just to blow him off, but the president ends up realizing, no, that's wrong. We become friends. We're buddies now. I shouldn't just blow people off like that. We're gonna be cool, and kind of spills the beans and whatnot, and everything sort of works out in the end. It's an okay movie. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's Disney and it's fun. Check it out if it seems like your thing. Then I watched Concussion. This was a good movie as well. Really enjoyed this one. I don't know how truthful it is. I hear this movie's a bit fictionalized, which I'm kind of curious what parts. I don't know the story all that well. I didn't even know this was a thing until the movie. It's all about, and then this part seems legit, the NFL kind of covering up concussions, and how all these football players are constantly getting concussions, and kind of covering up what that does to the human body. They apparently did like a study saying like, oh, it doesn't hurt you. You get knocked out, but you're going to be fine. You're good to go. Which was kind of a BS study apparently, and it really does mess you up. And it ends up coming down to the fact where like all these football players are going like, they're going crazy. They're basically going like they're going nuts. They're like some like early Alzheimer's, and they're literally going crazy where they're killing themselves, they're hurting other people, and doing just weird, crazy things. And it turns out it's from all these concussions, and not even like full blown heavy concussions, but just your head getting smacked around for all those years, and not just in the NFL, but you played, from Pee-wee football up until you retire from the NFL, all that time, your head just constantly been pound, 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 and it's your brain just like smacking around inside your skull, and what it does. And Will Smith's character here, he finds out like what it's doing and finds out this whole thing, and of course the NFL tries to cover it up, because the NFL is basically this big, huge organization, just like like the tobacco industry, or the alcohol industry, or the firearms industry. It's right up there with that bit of shadiness and that bit of evil. I mean, it's capitalism. They could care less about all these players and how they're getting hurt and what's happening, as long as they're making their money. That's what matters. And it really does paint a really bad picture on the NFL, which I would not be surprised if all that is 100% truthful. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Again, I hear some of this is fictionalized. I'm just not sure what parts, but it's a Hollywood movie, and most Hollywood movies are just that, Hollywood to some extent. But it still was a really good story, definitely enjoyable, and pretty cool to see the NFL kind of get caught in a lie, but at the same time sort of like get how they get out of it at the same time, because it's just evil corporations and that's what they do. So interesting movie. I recommend checking that one out. All right, then a movie I watched because of you guys. A movie that a lot of you said I need to check out. It's really good, so I watched it, and that is Eden Lake. And I thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away by this movie, but I think it was personal reasons. I think I didn't like. I mean, I liked it. I didn't love it. And I think the reason that is because of the characters and my opinions on the characters. This movie's brutal, and I think that's why a lot of you guys liked it. This movie is about these jerk-off kids torturing these two, like this boyfriend and girlfriend couple who are about to get married and go on vacation. They're torturing them, and they do horrible things. They kill one of them, and they do some nasty stuff. And it is a very brutal film. I mean, it's right after like Funny Games and what was that one that was kind of just like Funny Games? I can't think of. You guys know what I'm saying? It's like one of those type of movies, like really brutal movie. And I can see why you guys liked it. And it wasn't a bad story. It was interesting. I think my problem is that I hated the jerk, like the jerk kids so much. And all I wanted to see when like they first were being jerks, even before they got into the horrible stuff they did, I just wanted to see our main characters just like pull out a gun from their camping gear, just blow every one of them away, and just push them off into Eden Lake and let their bodies rot in there. I hate jerk kids. I've always hated them ever since I was a kid in high school. All the jerks in high school and the people who just thought they were just tough and cool and awesome. I just wanted to see those kids always get what's coming to them. So I think I just like immediately just was like, I despise these people, but not for the fact that they're doing bad things, but the fact that they're just jerks, and they shouldn't even have like been at the lake, because somebody should have put them out of their misery like long ago. So I'm already like hating this, like our people in here, which you're supposed to hate them. I think I'm just kind of hating them for the wrong reason. But then we have our main couple, and they kind of piss me off as well, because these kids are causing them issues. And they're like, no, we're not going to leave. We're going to stay here at the lake. We're going to stay here at the beach. We're not going to let these people get the best of us and ruin our time. You got two choices. You either take a shovel to those kids' heads or you leave. Because things aren't going to work out. These kids aren't going to make, they're being who they are. They're not going to change unless you do something about it, which is the reason why I feel so strongly about what should happen to kids like this, because they don't change unless somebody does something about it to change them. So I'm already kind of ticked off at our main characters now, because they're not doing anything about these kids, and they're not leaving, and they're kind of asking for this. They end up like at one point they do end up going home, and the kids have like already. I mean, here's the thing: they go to leave, and the kids have already like punctured one of their tires with like they put a broken beer bottle underneath the tire, and their tire gets punctured. So they've already screwed with them. So instead of just like going in town, getting some food, and saying, you know what, we should leave, let's get out of here, they go back to the freaking lake. What do you think is going to happen? Like, what do you think? Like, I would never in a million years would I go back to the lake where these kids were doing all these horrible things, because you don't know where these kids are doing, what these kids are up to. And sure enough, the kids come back and cause all this mayhem and stuff. Like, they just should have gone home or gone on vacation somewhere else. If you're not going to do anything about these kids, then you should just go, because you're not going to, like, so I didn't like her characters. I think that's my main problem. I was ticked. I felt they just did everything wrong. A lot of stupid stuff. I love when our character goes into one of the kids' house. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, you just like, are you stupid? Like, I know you're looking for like a parent, but come on. Like, you're just gonna walk into the house, and then the humans gets caught, and it's like you're an idiot. You're just an idiot. But it is brutal. It is crazy. It is insane. Watching how everything goes from like you think these kids are just going to do something simple, like they're going to beat the hell out of our main characters, and basically just like torture them and do some bad things to them, but let them live, up until a point where our one character accidentally kills one of the gang, or the kid's dog, and then that's when the main character of the main guy of the gang goes off, and he goes from like, I'm just gonna hurt you a lot, to you're both gonna die now. And all the other kids in the gang, I'll give them this, the other kids in the gang don't want it to go this far. They just thought, we're just gonna hurt him a bit and teach him a lesson, because they killed the dog and stuff, and they're being, we're jerk kids. This is what we're gonna do. But then when they kill the dog, and then the guy, the main guy from the gang makes them do things, and I'm not gonna get into how he makes them do it, but he does make them do some bad stuff, and it's crazy, and people die, and the end of the movie, it's got a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre like twist ending. So if you know what I'm talking about there, if you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre or House of a Thousand Corpses, you kind of already know what kind of ending we got going on here. So I didn't think the movie was bad, and I see why people like it. I actually thought it was decent. I don't think I couldn't get into the characters. It's like every character in this movie, I just wanted to just like punch in the face. And for all the wrong reasons. So, I thought it was okay. I liked it. I couldn't get into as much as like I probably should have, but it was all right. Check it out. It was, if you want something brutal, check the movie out. Then I checked out Jakob The Liar, which was an all right film. It's an interesting story about, it all takes place in like Nazi Germany. And there's a ghetto, and Robin Williams is out, not after curfew yet, but of course the Germans, being the jerks they are, make Robin Williams go to like the Nazi headquarters, even though he wasn't doing anything wrong. They make him go anyway, and he overhears on the radio that the Russians are close by. They're progressing in the war. And when he goes back, they do let him go, and he goes back to the ghetto, and he tells people about what he heard, and everybody thinks he has this radio. So it's just basically this whole movie based on our Jacob character sort of telling people all these stories that he never actually really heard. He's just making stuff up. He does it for a couple reasons. One, because it's giving his fellow Jews hope in a time where there's not much of that going around. So he's giving him hope, which is a plus. But he's also kind of caught in this lie that he's throughout the movie he's trying to kind of get out of, but it's not really working very well. Like everybody just refuses to believe that he doesn't have radio. So he's sort of doing a good thing, but kind of not a good thing at the same time. And then it's at the end of the movie, he gets caught and goes back to the headquarters. Of course, all the Nazis at this point are like leaving because the Russians are actually coming. And they're going to force him, or they're going to kill him or force him to tell everybody that he doesn't have the radio. It's basically like, tell all your buddies here you do not actually have a radio and that you made all this stuff up, or we're going to kill you. And he doesn't. He refuses. He ends up refusing to tell these people that he doesn't have a radio because he realizes that all these people have hope, and it's something for them to look forward to because they're all actually at this point going to be put onto cattle cars and sent off to a death camp. So he knows they need hope, and he knows that these people need to know that somebody's coming, and somebody's hopefully somebody's going to help them, and hopefully they're gonna make it through the war. So it's it sounds really interesting and sounds like a really great story. It just wasn't told very well. It's just that's kind of the main downfall of the movie. It's a little slow. It's not told all that interestingly. It's got a lot of parts that just kind of like drag on. So interesting story, just not told in the most interesting way, which kind of hurts the movie in a bit. But it was all right. It's just not one of the best, World War II films out there, in my opinion. It was mediocre. So it could have been better. I would love to see like a remake or something someday where they do a better job with it, because it was an interesting story, and it could be done well if done differently. Ending is kind of weird too, because it's got and I had to look this up because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. Apparently the book has a fairy tale ending. So apparently everybody in the story, from what I can gather, does die, because Jacob does say that everybody went off to the camp and was never heard from again. I'm like, well, that was crazy. But then he goes, or is that like how it happened? And then like they show like the train getting stopped by the Russians coming and saving all the people in the train. But from what I read online, that's apparently the fairy tale ending. So apparently that's not actually what happened. Apparently these people did, like, they might have had hope, but they all died anyway. So pretty sad ending. But the movie was okay. Again, I didn't love it, but it was all right. And check it out if it seems like your thing. And not a comedy or anything like that. Robin Williams, yes, but playing a serious role. So then on Mother's Day, I watched a movie that surprisingly a lot of you that heard about and had good things to say about, Mother. I was surprised so many of you guys have seen this movie. When I mentioned that I was watching it on social media, so many of you guys left comments saying about how much you like this movie. It's a movie I never hear like anybody talk about, so I was really surprised that some of you guys enjoyed this movie and liked it, and I've seen it, and I would agree, it was a great movie. I love it. Albert Brooks, he's getting a divorce, and he's always kind of had trouble with women, and he tries to figure out why he's got all these problems and issues, and issues with women, and he kind of stems it all back to his mother and wants to figure out like he wants to figure out his relationship with his mother, what's gone wrong with his relationship with his mom, and he figures if he can figure that out, he can probably figure out what's going on with him and his relationship with women. So in order to do this, he decides to move out of his house because he has a divorce. Why stay in this house all by himself, and move in with his mother, which of course seems kind of weird. And he moves back into his childhood home. He's living with his mom now, and it's this whole movie about him trying to figure out what his relationship with his mom is like, and what went wrong, and why things are the way they are. And it's pretty funny because his mom is, of course, a bit crazy, and she is hilarious throughout this film. Just the stuff she says and the way she presents herself, it's very like Jewish mother comedy, and it's done really well, and it's very, very funny, and I would highly recommend checking it out for her character alone. It was great. But in the end, I won't spoil it for you, but in the end they do come to realize why their relationship was the way it was, and why his mother kind of always resented Albert and Albert's brother, and why that was always kind of the thing going on in the household. So great movie, would recommend it. It's funny, it's enjoyable, great story, but it's Albert Brooks. I've said it like 100 times before, I'll buy anything with him in it. And in fact, that's why I bought this movie in the first place. I came across it, I was like, well, Albert Brooks is in it, I'm going to check it out, and it was great. So see it, fun movie. All right, then I went to the theater thanks to Chris, my friend Chris, who took me out to the theater, and we went and saw Captain America Civil War, and it was great. I really enjoyed this. I've been hearing such good things about it, and yes, I agree to all of them. It was really well done. It's pretty crazy, and I'm not going to get into the movie too much. I don't want to spoil things for you guys too much. I'm trying not to do that, but it is crazy seeing the team kind of split up, and then them kind of battling each other. I would say the cheesiest part, and the part that kind of bugged me a little bit, was the introduction of new characters, with people like Black Panther and Spider-Man. It seemed forced in a way, like they were saying, like, oh, we want to bring these people into the universe, and we want to give them their own movies, so let's just throw them into this movie, and yeah, that'll introduce them to people. It just seemed kind of like those characters just kind of like forced in a little bit. I mean, I would say Black Panther's character, not as much. He at least played a bigger role in the movie, but the Spider-Man character was like, where did he come from? Like, why did he need to be in this movie? He didn't. I love the Spider-Man character. I haven't heard anything. Are we getting movies with him? Because even though this will be the third Spider-Man franchise, like right after one another, that is ridiculous. Even though that would be the case, I'm actually really excited because this seemed like a really good Spider-Man, better than the last two we got. So I would actually love to see a really good Spider-Man movie. I'm hoping we're gonna get one with this new Spider-Man. That'd be pretty cool. I want to see that happen. So I loved it. It's great. Interesting reasons why the team splits up with the whole. It's a story I've seen before, especially in a lot of like animated movies with I think a lot of like the DC animated movies and some of like the animated cartoon series like talk about this, where they talk about like kind of casualties of war. Every time the Avengers go out and fight, they always create all this this mayhem. I mean, they're destroying towns and cities, and all this stuff happens, and there's people dying. And every time I watch a movie, I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking every time I watch one of these superhero movies, and they start fighting on the roads, and cars are crashing and blowing up. All I'm thinking is, how many like children were in the back seats of those cars? I mean, when I know I'm driving around, this junior sitting behind me, and if I got in the middle of some big epic war with the Avengers, that I had nothing to do with, we would be dead. And I'm always thinking that, I'm like, how many people have just died right now? And they address that, and that's sort of what ends up why the team ends up splitting up, because what the governments of the world kind of want to do to help maybe put an end to that, or make them at least responsible for issues like that. So so it's really interesting to watch them split up. I guess everybody keeps going, oh, are you Team Captain America or are you Team Iron Man? Well, first I want to say, congratulations, you're now giving into the same exact marketing that was used for Twilight with Team Jacob and Team Edward. Every time I keep hearing people say, I'm Team Captain America, I'm Team Iron Man, I'm like, wow, you sound just like the little girls from Twilight, which is hilarious. It's the same marketing. Sorry, whatever you want to. Better movies, yes. Same marketing. So anyway, if I had to choose one after seeing the movie, I guess I would say I'm kind of Team Captain America. I kind of sided with what they were doing as opposed to Iron Man's side. I thought what they were doing made more sense. I would kind of, if I was an Avenger, I would have gone with Captain America's side. I would have done what he was doing, even though they were possibly going to get themselves in some big trouble. I would have gone that route. So, I loved it. See it. It was fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Definitely the best Captain America movie and possibly the best of the Avengers movies. I loved it. And Ant-Man. I love seeing him come into play too. So great. Check it out. Then I wanted to get myself caught back up. So I watched Captain America Winter Soldier. And I wanted to rewatch this because after watching Civil War, I quickly started realizing while I'm watching, I'm like, wow, I don't remember what happened all that much in Winter Soldier. I've seen I've seen Captain America First Avenger. I've seen that a bunch of times. I've only seen Winter Soldier once before, so I was like, I really should have got myself caught back up so I could like really remember the story and relate it to Civil War. So I wanted, because I mean, Civil War is a sequel to, it's a Captain America movie just featuring like a lot of the Avengers. So it is a sequel to Civil War is a sequel to Winter Soldier. So you know this movie well before going into Civil War, and I made the mistake of not getting myself caught back up. So I wanted to do that and get another fantastic film. Enjoy this one just as much as I did the first time around. It was one of those things where after like 5 minutes into it, I was like, oh, that's right, this is what happens, this is the story I remember now, and all that stuff. And I love watching I love watching a S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of break apart and get infiltrated from the inside, and how that all kind of just falls apart. And it's really interesting to watch this movie and see S.H.I.E.L.D. break apart and get screwed from the inside, and then watch the Avengers kind of them get messed up too, not from getting messed up from the inside, but from the governments coming and talking to them. So it's crazy to watch like this big like superhero empire like crumble like within like 2 movies, and what it all breaks down to. So again, I'm not going to get into the plot too much. I don't want to spoil things for you guys, but absolutely fantastic. It's really just a Captain America Black Widow movie, and I loved it for that. So check it out. It's fantastic. But again, watch this if you're not 100% familiar with Winter Soldier. Make sure you watch it before you watch Civil War, because you should get yourself caught back up. I regretted not doing that. All right, then I picked up and had to watch again Deadpool. I love this movie so much when I saw it in theaters. It is hilarious. And this is what more action movies need to be. R-rated. I've been saying this ever since action movies or comic movies were around. I've always thought, why are comic movies not more gritty and dirty and raw and in your face and not PG-13? These movies need to be more gritty. And it's nice to see that happening, and I'm hoping this leads to more R-rated superhero movies. I'm hoping, I'm praying. I would really like to see that, because it's what we need. It's fun. It's bloody. There's guts and blood and all kinds of horrible things happening. But it's also the dialogue and the story that is just very R-rated as well, but makes for a fantastic movie. And it's what Deadpool needed. I mean, this character... If this character would have gotten a PG-13 movie with X to the side, which I love how they make fun of that. With that aside, had this movie gotten a PG-13 rating, it would have been garbage. There's no way they could have done this movie PG-13. It would have been so watered down. I mean, it might have been enjoyable to some extent, but it really would have been watered down and just not what it needed to be. With the R rating, it was exactly where it needed to be, and it's fantastic, and I cannot wait for a sequel. So it's a fantastic story. It's an origin story, but told so incredibly well, and I love this character. He's witty, he's funny, he's sarcastic, breaking the fourth wall the whole time. Some of the best jokes in here are jokes when he's really breaking the fourth wall. I love the jokes about when they mention they're going to go see Professor X and he asks which one. I love that. Probably a favorite joke in the entire movie is that one. I think it's brilliant. So if you haven't seen Deadpool, again, get out from under the rock, see it. It's a fantastic film, probably one of the best superhero films out there right now, just because it's done the way a superhero movie really needs to be done. It's got that edge, it's got that greenness, it has that rawness that really captures the feel of the comic book to the best they can do on film. So Deadpool, see it. And then because at this point I was just on a Marvel kick, Guardians of the Galaxy, because I've actually only seen this once before. I really wanted to rewatch it because I love the first time I checked it out and love it just as much the second time around. It's, again, another great origin story about how the Guardians of the Galaxy came to be and their story and them having to do this big epic battle as well. And I love the characters, how they're all like bad characters. They've all got their problems. I mean, every character here is not a very nice person, and how they all learn to work together for a greater cause and realize that this is something they could basically do now. They don't need to be your typical superheroes. They don't need to be goody two-shoes. They don't need to be perfect and follow the law to a T and basically becoming cops or whatnot. They don't need to do that, but they can protect the universe or the galaxy. They could do all this and work together and be this great group who does good things, but on their own terms, and maybe break some laws here or there and sort of do what they want to do, but also do good at the same time, and told so amazingly well. It's got some funniness in it. It's just a brilliant film, and I can't wait for the sequel for this either. We gonna get a Howard the Duck movie? I want another Howard the Duck movie. I hope that happens. I'm a fan of the 80s one, but I would love, obviously, a more serious Howard movie. I don't know. Or I hear maybe he's gonna be in the second Guardians movie. Anybody hear anything? I would love to hear about that. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, another fantastic Marvel movie. I mean, this is also, in my opinion, one of the best out there. So, see it. All right, guys, there you go. That is it. That's everything I recently checked out. So, a ton of great stuff. I'm going to recommend everything for the most part. I mean, again, Mail to the Chief, that's only if you're like a Wonderful World Disney fan, especially like modern films. If you like that kind of thing, it's worth checking out. Otherwise, you don't need to see it. Again, even I did like, and I would recommend it. I think a lot of you would like it. My issues with the movie are all kind of personal. I had an issue with the characters in the movie, but in of itself, it's a decent movie. And Jakob the Liar, again, not told very well, but it's an interesting enough story that I would say if it's something you want to see it, because the story is good. It's just not told well, unfortunately, and that's the downfall of the movie. But otherwise, decent story, so worth seeing. So, all right, guys, there you go. That is it. So, like I always say, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to see a new video from me every single day, hit the subscribe button, and you're going to get one. And also, if you want to grab yourself a Cinema Sickness t-shirt, hoodies, tank tops, hats, buttons, kids gear, all kinds of cool Cinema Sickness gear, head over to cinemasickness.spreadshirt.com where you can get yourself some of that. And finally, if you want to show your support for new content and your thanks and your appreciation, head over to patreon.com/cinemasickness, where any tiny little bit helps and is very much greatly appreciated. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.